All right, everybody. Welcome to the second episode of Non Sequitur Nerds. As always, this is Tim, joined by my friend Ian. Ian, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How are you, Tim?
Hey, not bad at all. Staying sane, staying healthy. So that's I guess what's important right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Even though I just demolished Chinese food and some sugary sweets, probably not going to be good for my waistline. I'm going to have to hit the gym extra hard tomorrow.
Hey, there you go, there you go. Well, what kind of Chinese you have?
I went with the orange chicken and some fried rice, but then we got I got the fried biscuits coated in sugar, and you just can't help yourself. They're like Pringles. Once you pop, you just can't stop.
I hear that. I hear that, man. And you can't go wrong with orange chicken either.
Correct. Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, Ian, what do we got on the agenda for today?
So today, I think we're going to try to hit up some of the video game topics. One of our favorite things in the
Oh yeah.
world.
Oh yeah.
If I remember correctly, whenever I was over at your house, you had stacks of video games, literally sitting all over the floor.
I mean, not much has changed. I just have a stand to put them on now.
Well,
I mean,
what are you going to do?
mostly, right? So, all right. So, all right. What do we got? What's new in the world of gaming?
Well, obviously, in the world of gaming these days, there is the major thing out there, which is the new gen consoles, next gen consoles, next gen consoles. I don't know how you're referring to them anymore.
I mean,
Uh,
since they're out, wouldn't they be current gen? Since they're out now,
let's just go with new.
the new consoles. Okay, we can work
Yeah,
with that.
so new consoles are out. PS5 and the Xbox Series S and the Series X. I myself was lucky enough to land a pre-order for a Series S, which arrived on my doorstep happily that day. And I have the lovely little toaster plugged in, actually sitting right behind me.
Like when you sent me a picture of that, I was genuinely surprised. Like they said, the Series S, that's our smallest Xbox ever. I was genuinely surprised just how small that thing is. I mean, I think it
Yeah,
was you had it next to one of the bricky PS2s, right?
yep, I still have my original brick PS2, and I decided to take that unit and set it on top of the Series S, just so I could show a size comparison. The Series S is smaller than the old brick PS2s, so actually the base of the brick PS2 fits perfectly actually on top of the Series S.
Oh,
So it's
nice.
a little tiny thing, but it's got some horsepower to it. I'll tell you what.
I mean, like when you were telling me some of the loading times on it, I mean that's just nuts. I mean, I was playing earlier today a game called Astroneer, which I've talked to you a little bit about, and like the load times on that, it's a great game. Don't get me wrong, but like the only complaint I really got about it is the load times on that, just to even get to the main menu, are a lot longer than it really should be. And just think about those new systems. It's like, man, what are the loading screens on something like this going to look like? How dramatically is that going to cut it down?
Yeah, that's a good question. I might have to see Astroneer. You said I think it's on Game Pass,
Yep,
right? I
yep.
might have to see if it's got an Xbox version out that I can download and benchmark for you.
Oh yeah, definitely try it. I mean, either way, I mean, even if you have to get it on your old Xbox One, I mean, it's still worth playing. It's a fun game.
Nice. Well, I'll have to definitely check that out. So the new gen consoles, the current gen consoles, they're out there. There's two versions of the Xbox. There's one version of the PS5,
Well,
PlayStation 5 for those of you not in the
technically,
know.
they've got
Yeah,
the discless version, which I mean, for me, there's still something nice about physically owning a game and like having it in your hands. You don't have to worry about if a company's license for something in the game ran out, they pull it, and if you didn't have it downloaded at the time, you're SOL. But I'm not going to lie, the convenience of digital though is definitely appealing.
oh, sure. I mean, especially in the age of Corona and pandemic, people don't want to go outside to have to buy stuff. I mean, then again, you can buy a game from GameStop or Amazon or your local retailers, and they can ship it to you. You can do curbside or whatever it might be, and you get that convenience factor. But then there's also the extremely convenient factor of the fact that you can just hit a couple of buttons, approve your payment, and voila, 10, 20, 30 minutes later, depending on your connection speeds, you've got a game.
Yeah, not all of us have gigabit connections, Ian.
Well, not all of us are fortunate to live in the middle of a sprawling metropolis.
Well, that is true. Some of us are surrounded by cornfields and Amish.
Yep. So, I totally get what you're saying. The physical media is a nice thing to be able to have, to touch, to smell, to feel, to taste. Just not the Switch console or the Switch cartridges, because apparently those taste awful.
So at the time when the Switch came out, I was working at GameStop as a manager. This is another lifetime ago at this point. But I remember reading that article about how that they put a bitterant in the plastic because they didn't want kids to put them in their mouths and swallow them. And of course, in my infinite wisdom, I'm like, really? And licked one of my games. And yeah, they do have a very displeasing taste to them. So I can attest that the Switch cartridges do taste terrible.
Nice.
I did it for science. For science.
Nice. Well, we will take that. We will take that, and I will bring that up at your next birthday party.
There we go.
Yeah, but the concept of physical media is appealing to a lot of people. I like to read, you know this. But I'm more of a traditionalist when it comes to reading. I love having a physical book in my hands. The look, the feel, the smell. There's just something that you can't beat with that when you have something like Kindle. You don't. I mean, you've got a little electronic device, no different from your phone. That just you just touch it and move a page. You don't have that real tactile feel to
right.
an electronic, to like an electronic book.
Right. Well, I mean, and there are like kind of piggybacking off of. There are some good sides. And speaking of books, there are some good sides to digital format books. Like as an example, my gaming group that I play in, we have hard copies of every book that we need. All the rule books, the player's handbooks, whatever have you for whatever game system we're playing. But when let's see, there's 6 of us in my group that I do on Sundays. Well, was doing on Sundays. And some of the books, 30, 40, 50 bucks sometimes. You spread that over 6 people, it can get a little pricey sometimes versus you can buy a PDF of those same books for, 5, 10 bucks. So I mean, in a case like that where you've got a group of people that all need the same book, if one person's using it and you only have one copy, there might be, the other 5 waiting to look up a rule or look up, if they're leveling up their character or whatnot. So in that instance, having, a digital book there, 1, saves space. 2, it's a cost-effective measure, but 3, that there's that convenience of knowing that we could all have that book right there, be able to flip through it without having to wait. But and I agree with you with traditional books for reading. There is something nice about physically having that in your hands. Just especially like the smell of old books. I'm one of those people. I love that smell.
Now, I think that's another reason why you and I are friends.
Right? We like old book smell.
But another non sequitur here. Let's bring it back around to to video games and consoles and stuff like that. As I was browsing through my media and my different news sites and things like that this week, I'm a big geek, so it's a lot of geek sites and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Did you see the news about the departure from BioWare of Casey Hudson, their longtime general manager, and one of the lead writer on Dragon Age? I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but they very quickly, it seems, departed BioWare.
I saw that. I have a quite a few friends online who are very big, specifically Dragon Age fans. My sister being one of them, which a quick shout out to her. If you're watching the YouTube version of this, our logo was painstakingly created and loved, or done up and shown some love by her. So quick shout out to my sister. But no, I did see that. Yeah, that's it. I mean, and you saw kind of piggybacking off of that one of the voice actors very publicly, effectively said, good riddance. To which the people that left are like, you know what, we're gonna have some words about this, about some of your behavior. So it seems like there's just a whole shit pot getting stirred right now.
Yeah, and I read a little bit more about that particular voice actor. Did the voice of, I believe, Cullen and Anders in the Dragon Age games. Apparently, he's also kind of difficult to work with and really kind of out there with some of his theories and some of his political leanings.
I kind of.
We don't want to turn this podcast into a story of politics, but really kind of very much a person of unpopular opinions, especially among gamers. And I
Right.
think I saw an article not that long ago, actually, while I was browsing on my phone, saying, speculating that he may be removed from future BioWare titles
Hmm.
due to his behavior.
Well, I mean, see, that's one of those. Like, I imagine if that ends up being the case, there's going to be a lot of gamers, particularly fans of Dragon Age, are going to be a little torn because Cohen and Anders are two, big fan favorites. So on one hand, you're going to be losing, the person that that gave life to the voice of those characters. But on the other hand, if he's doing all this stuff that, I mean, this is probably another one of those situations that whether he is or whether he's not, we're probably never going to hear the full story on. It's stuff happening behind the scenes. But it's like, well, if he is doing a bunch of less than savory things, should he be removed? And like, what is he doing? So it's kind of one of those. If he's doing bad stuff, yeah, he should probably be put to the side. But on the other hand, it's, well, this is the voice. But I mean, there are countless voice actors out there. I mean, many of whom voice like. There's it's just so many talented people that could easily step in and do just about any role given to them, and still make it great, if not better, than how the original voice actor did.
Well, it's not uncommon for studios out there to have shakeups with some of their talents and their acting talents. I mean, if you look back at Epic, Cliff Bleszinski, who is the real Cliffy B, who
Yep.
Created the Gears of War series, he left Epic on good terms, but he was still a pretty big figurehead for that studio.
Oh yeah.
If you look at the Borderlands games, they replaced the voice actor for Claptrap between 2 and 3. Well, I guess 2 and its umpteen million sequels and DLCs.
Right.
And then 3, where they had a different voice actor, and that was actually pretty publicly contentious as well between the voice actor and Borderlands studio, the studio that created Borderlands. And there was kind of a bit of a feud or a fight about that. They took to Twitter pretty publicly attacking each other. So it's not uncommon for studios and the like to recast people, really depending on what it is they're doing, schedules. One of my favorite games in the world is Destiny.
I was waiting on you to bring that up. I know exactly what you're going to talk about.
Right. Nathan Fillion, Captain Mal,
Yep.
has been the voice of one of the best characters in that game, Cayde 6, since the very beginning of the game, many years, up until recently in the not Shadowlands, the Forsaken expansion, when Nolan North stepped in to play the role, and I believe it was due to scheduling issues with Nathan Fillion, not necessarily that he wasn't willing to do the part. I believe from interviews I've seen that he actually loved doing the part.
Oh yeah.
Enjoyed it a lot. But Destiny also had another shake-up towards the beginning, its original game, in that many people may not remember this, but Ghost, the little robot that follows you around, was originally voiced by Peter Dinklage.
Yeah, which I mean,
of Game of Thrones fame.
Which, don't get me wrong, like I mean, some of the well, let's talk about that wizard came from the moon for a second. But despite that aside, like I like Dinklage's original performance. Now, not saying I didn't like Nolan's performance when they completely redid it. I thought he added a great deal to it, but I liked Peter Dinklage's performance for what it was.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Dinklebot did a great time. Yes, for those of you not in the know, that was the community colloquialism that we attributed to Peter Dinklage's time as Ghost. He was known as Dinklebot. So I think Dinklage did a good job with the role for what it was. I do feel maybe some of it was a little ham-fisted in the acting. There wasn't as much emotion to Ghost as there could have been.
Right.
Which Nolan North, who also came in and replaced Dinklage on voicing Ghost and has since voiced Ghost ever since then, added a bit more depth to that character than what there originally was.
Right. When I think like Peter Dinklage's performance, I think was more they were treating Ghost, at least from my perspective, they were treating Ghost more like it was a robot, or I don't even know if robot's the right word for it, but you kind of get what I'm saying. So it didn't really need to portray as much emotion. But when fans kind of started to like that character, and then they had Nolan North do his performance of it. Yeah, I do agree. He added a lot more emotion to it. It felt like another like main sentient human type thing was talking to you instead of it being for lack of a better term like an Alexa style device.
Right. Exactly. These are just some examples of studios taking various different actions in order to bring in these characters or update some of their characters. I mean, if you look, even with the case of Dinklebot and Nolan North replacing Peter Dinklage on Dinklebot, he actually went back and re-recorded all the old lines. It wasn't even that it was just a transition at some point in the game. It was literally every line that Dinklage recorded, Nolan North recorded their own version so that there was consistency within the game.
Right. So that
So
from the
that in
time you
and of
started
itself
your
was a nice thing to have.
Right. So it gave that natural flow.
Right. Now, obviously, if the actor who voiced Cullen and Anders leaves the series, they're probably not going to be able to do that. They're not going to. I mean, they may go back and do a remaster or new version of the first 3 Dragon Ages for the newer gen consoles, but I doubt they're gonna. I mean, that's a lot of lines to re-record for.
Yeah, that is a lot of dialogue.
Right, especially for a BioWare game, which
yes,
hats off to BioWare, one of my favorite studios out there.
Oh yeah.
I wish that I hope that Casey and the other gentlemen land themselves in great locations. But I think it does make me wonder if there's something going on behind the scenes at BioWare. Maybe there's some kind of unspoken toxicity that's in the studio. And some could argue that, I'm going to argue my opinion here because that's what we do on this show.
Yep.
That I think a lot of it is from the top down, coming from EA. EA is Electronic Arts is a studio that's known for being just awful. Actually, they're not a studio. Sorry, they're a publisher.
Right.
But I mean, they're a publisher, and they're just generally considered awful. They're consistently ranked one of the worst companies in the country. Even though they make money, they're just culturally they're a terrible group to have.
Right.
And I think when EA first came on board, BioWare was doing things like Dragon Age and Mass Effect, and they were making money, and they were kind of keeping staying back and watching from the cliffside as the troops went to war with these games. But now I think they're starting to inject themselves more, wrestling more control away from the individual studios themselves. If you look at Mass Effect Andromeda as an example, they the game was 65% done when EA came in and said, "Hey, great, this looks awesome. By the way, you need to do this all on the Frostbite engine." And BioWare went, "Nani?"
Right.
And that's how we got Andromeda looking the way it does, which gameplay wise it's okay, it's decent gameplay. The multiplayer lacked a little bit, and it didn't have the flair and the feeling of Mass Effect 3's multiplayer, but just those facial animations.
Now I will say, like, I didn't play Andromeda until later in its life, when they had released patches, they had released updates, they had fixed a lot of that stuff. So like for me coming in, after they had addressed all those issues, I enjoyed Andromeda. Like I while I had grown fond of the characters from the first 3 original Mass Effect games, obviously they weren't really in Andromeda, obviously. But I still enjoyed it. I thought gameplay was pretty good on it. The story was engaging. I actually liked following it. Did a lot of the side stuff in that game too, a lot more than I did in the first 3 Mass Effects, oddly. But no, yeah, I do kind of agree with you. I mean, EA they do sadly have a stigma about them, and I mean it's something that, especially for being one of the bigger publishers out there, they can't not know what their consumers think of them. But I mean, again, their consumers may think they're the worst thing in the world, but if they keep buying their games, where's the incentive for them to actually do anything about it? If they're still making money hand over fist, why bother changing if they know that their player base is still going to buy their games? And I looked it up. The other person that left was Mark Dara, the lead writer for the Dragon Age series.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Well, it all kind of comes down to especially lately. There's just been this trend of this toxic environment within development studios.
Yeah.
It's if you look at Respawn Entertainment and the people that originally made the Call of Duty, the original Call of Duty folks left very unceremoniously, and suddenly from the original developer who was under Activision, they went and started their own studio. I believe the new studio was Respawn, and they were acquired by EA and have been putting out Titanfall. And
Right.
I believe they also put out Apex Legends.
Do people still play Apex? I mean, I'm not making a slight against the game. It's just like when it came out, everybody was, like super interested and hyped about it. And I haven't really heard much about it since then. Like, I mean, whenever, those kind of games come out, I'll at least give them a try. They're not my cup of tea, but I try them out just to see, okay, well, what's the hype about? What is this? I mean, games like that, Fortnite, those kind of battle royale games. I'll at least try them to see what they're about. But is it still? I mean, is there still a decent player base on it? Do you know?
They're releasing more seasons, more players as time goes on. I believe a new season just started for them not that long ago, which that's the big thing in the game industry with these like living games anymore, is you're doing seasons where semi-short term events that happen. You earn ranks, you earn specific gear and stuff like that, and you earn all this other stuff within a season, and then it resets when they release a new season.
That seems to be the popular thing.
Yeah, a friend of mine from that I used to work with still plays Apex. He speaks very highly of it. And if I really want to think about it, I mean, Apex to me is basically Fortnite sans building and sans the 8-year-old screaming obscenities at you.
Right.
So it seems like it's a more mature player base. And then, of course, there's the oft-forgotten PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which I think is basically fallen to the wayside. I don't hear really anything about that game.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I can't even recall the last time I heard anything about that one. I mean, that was one of the early pioneers in the battle royale type games. Like I remember when that came out, everybody was playing it.
It came out right around the same time as I think Fortnite's Battle Royale mode. I think they were roughly the same. Maybe one was a little bit after the other.
Right.
But if we look at kind of those there's a difference between Battle Royale and multiplayer to me. Obviously, Battle Royale is many dozens, if not hundreds, of people.
Right.
Which it makes me think of games like PlanetSide, where these huge, massive groups of people that are playing all at once, and then, I think if we look at some more smaller scale games, we have Overwatch, which has continued to dominate in the esports community, and I believe a game that you tried to get me into, which was Battleborn.
Yeah, which came out to a lot of nothing. Because it came out like right around the same time as Overwatch, and Overwatch had a lot more oomph behind it.
It had a lot more oomph, and I think it had a little bit more spit and polish to it.
Right.
Classic Blizzard game.
It's Blizzard. They know what they're doing.
Right. It's Blizzard. Back in the day, at least, Blizzard wouldn't release anything unless it was truly done.
Right. So, and I played Overwatch for a while. I mean, obviously, I played Battleborn. The only I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this. When they came out, I enjoyed Battleborn a lot more because it also had a story to it. And I know Overwatch had a story to it, but you had to watch cinematics, you had to read the lore, which nothing wrong with that. I liked it being contained in Battleborn. All of that was contained in the game. You played the story. I mean, it wasn't the greatest story, but it had it right there in the game. I didn't have to go to YouTube and watch 10 lore videos about characters to kind of get an idea about them. But in the end, I mean, apparently that's the unpopular opinion because people are still playing Overwatch.
Well, everyone's welcome to their opinion. That's what this show is about.
Absolutely.
I won't deride you too much on your opinion. So, But with that, I think we are out of time for today, folks.
All right.
So we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. Thanks for listening again. We hope to see you again, or we hope to, to have you guys download and listen to us again here next week. And you all have a good day.
Yeah, thanks for listening again, everyone. We'll catch you next time.